Harry Kane. We are looking ahead to the North London derby. And interestingly, many people, of course, having their say. When you're the England captain, when you're Harry Kane, everybody wants to have their say. This morning in one of the newspapers in the UK, Graham Souness, former Liverpool player, manager, many things, talked about the positioning of Harry Kane. Robbie, and that's where I want to start with you. Is he coming too deep?
I suppose that's the obvious observation, Rebecca, which is always going to happen. But some would suggest last season he was coming deep. He scored 23 goals and had 14 assists, top the league in both. Look back over his last 5 seasons, Rebecca. 23 goals, 18 goals, 17 goals, 30 goals, 29. 3-time Golden Boot winner. So the history is there of a guy who misses some games with injury. The positional thing I think is interesting. Back in the day, everybody played 4-4-2, 4 defenders, 4 midfield, 2 strikers. There was no rotation. There was no change in positions. You stayed in those spots. The modern-day tactic, the modern-day structures are that things rotate, people move. Harry Kane does that, and often to good effect. When he does that, Son can make runs, Lucas can make runs, Bergwijn can make runs. So I wouldn't just jump on that. What I would say is, now and then he needs to just get himself in the 18-yard box. That's where goals are scored. More often than not, stay around that 6-yard box. Give us those natural goal-scoring instincts and the goals will come in the Premier League.
Well, I think the difference is that last season he was dropping back and dropping deep, but also getting in the 18-yard box. Tim, at the moment, as things stand, he's played 4 Premier League games. He has had 10 touches in the opposition's box across those 4 games combined. Where do you stand on his positioning?
Well, I'm with Robbie. I think when you look under Pochettino, they were a free-flowing football team, right? So all he had to do was get himself right between the posts and he'd score the goals. Under Mourinho and under Nuno, he's a clever footballer. They drop deep. They defend on the edge of their 18-yard box. Where's the space? He comes into the space to get the ball off the fullbacks and the defenders who are miles away. He can't stand up there on his own. So he drops deep. He ends up playing with Son, who's been brilliant, who we've seen actually can carry a team on his own. And he's become the outlet. So really, what we're saying is he's a clever footballer. He finds a space, and he figures out a way to not only lead the Premier League in scoring, but in assists as well. So, look, what you're talking about in terms of this season, I think that has to do with the transfer saga this summer. I think his head's been turned. He's scored outside of the Premier League. He scored 3 goals in the Cups. So this is still a classy, world-class goal scorer, and he will find the goals.
OK, let's talk about what you just brought up, because that's the very evident elephant in the room. It's actually, it's not even an elephant in the room. We're all talking about the elephant, the non-transfer to Manchester City. Robbie Earle, put yourself in his shoes. Imagine you're Harry Kane. What happened over the summer. You probably thought you were going to get away. It didn't happen. You're 28 years old. Where are you mentally?
Obviously, it's difficult to get in Harry's head. I'm going to give you the best example I can, Rebecca, of how I think it feels and having been in the situation. I'll talk about physical first. Sometimes you have a bad injury. You might have a bad knee or ankle. I had a bad foot injury during the middle of my career. After that injury, I had to adapt my game and play differently to make sure I could play week in, week out. It changed the way I thought. It changed the way I moved. It changed some of the things I did on a football pitch because my head was telling me, don't get back in that position where you're going to get another injury. So that's physical. The same thing can happen mentally, where your mind is sort of saying, the move didn't happen. Am I going to win silverware? You know, what's the challenge for this year? Are we going to be in the Conference League? Is that something that we're going to win? I just think that mentally, these are a bit of a block in there now for Harry, that disappointment, it almost feels like a bad injury, that it's restricting him. And he's somehow got to break free from that. Now, North London derby, he scores goals, you know, he's got the record amount of goals in that. This might be something that kickstarts him. But there is something in there that just restricts him. It's not nothing that you can, OK, this week I'm fine. Everything feels fine. But deep down, that disappointment has to come out somewhere. I
mean, he's human. You know, whether you like what he did or you don't like what he did, he's a human being and he's disappointed. So, Tim, I guess the question is, how long will this last, this disappointment, and how does he go about getting through it?
Well, I feel for Harry Kane because I think he did the right thing. He's given brilliant service to Tottenham Football Club. He wants to move away to win trophies to bigger clubs. That, you know, whether Tottenham fans like that or not. So he's done what he's supposed to do as a footballer. My worry is we've seen down the years, there's certain players that'll go, you know what? Put me in reserves. Go make me train with that. I'm going to get this move no matter what. I don't think that's in Harry Kane's DNA. I don't think that's in his makeup. But I do believe in the back of his mind, he wants to leave. He wanted to leave this summer. I think he'll want to leave again. I don't think he's resigned himself to the fact that he's going to be at Tottenham for the rest of his career. So I think that is weighing on his mind because he's not the type of character to force the move.
So then do you think he can compartmentalise it to get back to scoring goals in the Premier League? Or do you think we're going to see this sort of hang over him for most of the season until he gets a move?
He's going to have to compartmentalize it. That being said, yeah, I think we could see a hangover. I think we are seeing a hangover from it. How long does it last? He's, again, ultimately one of the classiest finishers we've ever seen. He will get the goals. As many as he has in the previous years, as Robbie pointed out, probably not.
I mean, ultimately, it's about his age. Because if he was 23 or 24, then he's missed out on one big move.
Correct.
He's got plenty of other time.
Earle and Haaland and Mbappe and those guys.
But he's 28.
Yeah.
I guess if you're him, you're thinking, potentially, if Levy never lets me go, I'm never going to win a piece of silverware.
He's only got the Jimmy Greaves record and things to chase, and obviously the Alan Shearer record in the Premier League to chase, which are great. But when he looks at the end of his career, when he looks back, when he's sitting there with his kids and he looks in that cabinet, and there's nothing in there, Rebecca, golden boots and individual awards, but there's no team awards, there's no titles, there's no Champions League, there's no FA Cups. That's going to hurt him. Don't care how much money you got, don't care how many houses you can have and cars you want. Those top players want to have those trophies in the cabinet.
That can leave an empty feeling, I suppose, when you retire, and that is maybe what he's foreseeing and is what he maybe is worried about, Tim.
Well, particularly because of how beloved he is in England with the national team, and he wants trophies, as Robbie rightfully said. None of the rest of it matters. Team trophies is the ultimate goal.
Well, don't worry. They're going to go to the World Cup, England, and win the World Cup. So they'll put that in the trophy cabinet, and then he'll be fine.
Love it, Becca.
Thank you very much. That was this Sunday's Boot Room, ahead, of course, of the North London derby a little bit later on this morning. Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.